The Labor Department released a number this week that made economists do a double take. For the week ending July 18, 2026, initial jobless claims fell by 22,000 to 187,000. The fewest new unemployment filings in a single week since September of 1969. Economists had forecast around 212,000. So the actual figure beat expectations by a wide margin. Headlines immediately called it proof of a rock-solid labor market. And Wall Street cheered. 56 years is a long time. Long enough that the last time claims were this low, the moon landing was still front-page news. But a single weekly figure beating a decades-old record deserves a closer look before you treat it as the full story of how American workers are actually doing right now. Let us sort the signal from the noise. Get the definition right before anything else. Initial jobless claims count how many people filed for unemployment benefits for the very first time in a given week, tallied by state agencies and published weekly by the Department of Labor. That makes it a proxy for one specific thing. How many people are newly getting laid off? Not how many people are finding jobs. Not how many people are working. And not the unemployment rate itself, which comes from a completely different monthly survey of households. It is also a number that gets revised. The prior week's figure, originally reported as 209,000, was itself an upward revision from an even lower initial estimate. Claims data is collected fast and cleaned up slowly. So any single week, including this record one, should be read as a first draft, not a final verdict. Context matters here. In both directions. Adjust for population and the picture actually looks even stronger than the headline suggests. The American labor force has roughly doubled since 1969. So the same raw number of claims today represents a far smaller share of workers losing jobs than it did 56 years ago. That is a genuine point in favor of this being real signal. But economists flagged a specific wrinkle in this particular week too. Seasonal adjustment. Every July, factories including auto plants schedule planned shutdowns for retooling and maintenance. And those workers often file temporary claims during that window, when the exact timing of those shutdowns shifts from one year to the next. The government's seasonal adjustment formula, built on the average pattern of past years, can misfire and produce a reading that looks more extreme than the underlying trend. Oxford Economics called the low layoff rate real, while also flagging seasonal noise at the margins. Here is the piece most headlines skip entirely. Economists have been describing 2026 a labor market with a specific phrase. Low hire, low fire. Companies are not laying people off in large numbers, which is exactly what this claims number captures. But those same companies are also not hiring aggressively, holding open positions and moving cautiously given inflation, elevated interest rates, and uncertainty around how quickly AI reshapes hiring needs. That combination matters enormously if you are actually one of the people out of work. Because a low layoff rate does not translate into an easy job search. It can mean the opposite. If you do lose a job in this environment, it may take considerably longer to land the next one, since employers everywhere are moving slowly. A falling initial claims number, in other words, tells you almost nothing about how the unemployed are actually faring. A few real caveats belong here. This is 1 week of inherently volatile, frequently revised data, and a number this extreme, beating forecasts by 25,000, deserves confirmation over several more weeks before anyone treats it as a durable trend rather than a statistical outlier. The 1969 comparison, while directionally true, compares a raw headline number across two economies of dramatically different size And reporting it without that context can make the moment sound more dramatic than the underlying rate change actually is. Most importantly, low layoffs and a healthy job market are not the same claim. Continuing claims. The number of people still receiving benefits after their first filing has stayed comparatively elevated, suggesting people who are out of work are staying out of work longer, even as fewer people are newly joining them. A record low in one metric does not mean the whole labor market gets a clean bill of health. Quick recap. Initial jobless claims fell to 187,000 for the week ending July 18, the lowest weekly figure since September 1969, beating economist forecasts by a wide margin, according to Labor Department data released this week. So, signal or noise? Signal. Layoffs genuinely are historically rare right now. And adjusted for how much larger the workforce is today, this reading is arguably even more impressive than the raw number suggests. Noise. Treating this as proof the job market is easy or booming. It measures firings, not hiring. It is one volatile and revisable week. And it arrives inside a low fire economy where losing a job still means a longer, harder search than the headline number implies. The honest takeaway: employers are holding on to workers. They are just not confidently adding new ones. Subscribe for the economic numbers explained without the spin. Signal from the noise. Every week,